Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. We had to go on a short break. We are back now. If you have just joined us, a very big welcome. And if you have continued watching us, thank you for staying with us. The topic for discussion this evening is knife crimes. And as you know, knife crime is on the increase. In July, there was 1,030 knife crimes in July 2016. But just this year alone, in the first 4 months, there were 1,438 knife crimes. That is a huge increase, and we are trying to establish the reason why it's on the increase. Is it because of government fundings due to austerity? Is it because of young people? What is it? And what makes these young people go along and stab another young person or take their life away? What is it that we as a community can do to eradicate this problem, to alleviate this problem? How can we work in partnership with the service providers, with the police, the local authorities, the third sector organizations? Is there a shortage of leadership in our community? Is there a shortage of role models? What is it that these young people are not agreeing to? What is it that we can do? Ladies and gentlemen, there is a free telephone line number on the screen. If you wish to participate in this program, please phone in. No matter how silly or stupid your question may seem, but the contribution that you make is very valuable. So please don't be ashamed or afraid. Pick up the phone, share your thoughts with us, ask us any questions, ask our panel members any questions, and we will take it from there. Thank you. Adam, just before we went on break, we were talking about what is a postcode war or territorial war, and you were giving the answers. I'm sorry I had to cut you short because we had to go on a break. Can you, just for the benefit of our viewers, just kind of recapture that?
Yeah, so what we've seen, I mean, this is not exactly a new problem. It's a problem through the last decades. Is that there are gangs operate in certain territories where they hold a monopoly on drug distribution, but beyond that, sort of wider crimes. And now we're seeing with policing model, which is becoming less based in community policing and preventing these crimes, to just a reactive model where they're only reacting to crimes as they're happening. You're seeing that gangs and people who wish to do harm to others are becoming more bold, and they see that there's going to be less comeuppance to them, because even if the police do arrest them, they're just going to be released, which means that when others,
they're at liberty to go out and commit the crime again.
Indeed. And then what you're seeing is that young people, like we said before, and older people, and anyone, are afraid to report crimes because they know the police don't have the resources
to be able
investigate.
to deal with it. Yeah.
Myself, I was attacked outside of my block of flats. I was headbutted by
Yes, I heard about that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Right outside my
Did they get the culprits, or did they?
Oh, they interviewed all of them. But because it was a group of them, and because it was only one of them that committed the assault, and because I couldn't remember who committed the assault because I was surrounded, they had to let them all go, which means there was no. They knew exactly who the group were. They knew exactly that one of them had done it.
Wasn't there any CCTV footage?
Oh, there was a CCTV camera, but there was no. It wasn't being recorded. It was a dummy camera.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
And sometimes the picture, the quality of the pictures from these cameras are not very good.
Exactly.
It's not high definition.
Exactly.
Is it?
I even when I got attacked and when I fell to the floor, I even had the sense of mind to actually, get my phone out of my pocket and take a picture of their license plates.
Yeah, Lama plate.
Of their license plates. Yeah. So they knew exactly where the culprits lived. They knew exactly who they were. I'm very lucky. I'm a young man who, is not afraid to walk the streets. And if something like this happens, I just become emboldened by it. The trouble is, if I'm an older person, or if I'm in any way more frail, then what am I going to think? I'm going to be afraid to leave my own home. I'm going to be afraid to leave my own home. And this is just one of hundreds.
Adam, can I
if not
just stop you
thousands
because
of
we
crimes.
have a caller on the line. Let's just take the call. Hello, caller. Good evening and Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Good evening. I'd just like to say
So, can you tell us your name, who you are, and where you're calling from?
Rise in knife crime, but there's not much preventative.
Sorry, can you tell us your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Poplar,
Poplar, and your name is?
Lutfa Rahman.
Lutfa Rahman. Okay, Lutfa, go on, go ahead.
Yeah, there is an increase of knife crime. Everyone knows about it, and it has been raised. But I haven't seen any action taken. There isn't much preventative work going on. I mean, we need to work with youth, and it's important that we educate the people and the community. That's not been happening. Lots of youth centres have been closed down, a lot of reduction in funding, and there isn't anything else to replace those services that's been taken away. And we need to find new strategies on how to work with those young children to educate them. Some children carry the knife to protect themselves, but actual fact that knife would then have an impact on them being hurt. So we need to raise these kind of awareness. And how do we do it? And something needs to be done, and the politician needs to get their head around it. And also, there's not much cameras around Tower Hamlets, and if there is, like you discussed earlier, then dummy cameras. That I can see drug dealing happening on my street. I try to report it. I dial 101, and it makes it really difficult for me to report. I tried going online. There's so much I have to go through before I can report a car.
I understand your frustration, and I know, I've experienced those problems myself where I've tried to report crimes. The amount of questions that you are asked, and some people just simply wouldn't bother. But yes, you're right, we need to find ways of working with the relevant authorities, and we need to work together to eradicate the problem, if not, at least try and reduce it. Adam, do you agree with what Lutfa have said in terms of some of the problems that she personally is facing?
Wholeheartedly. Right. I think she hits the nail on the head with the reduction in youth services. I think it's a symptom of austerity. I think it's a symptom of a reduction in funding that goes to our councils. We, as a council in Tower Hamlets, we've fared better in the sense that we've been managed. I don't want to say well, because reducing funding in places is bad.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but Tower Hamlet as a borough, we've got the highest youth population in the whole of London. Is that right?
I don't have the statistics to hand, but it sounds like.
Does anyone know just now?
Sounds right.
I'm not sure if it is, but it sounds right. Maybe one of the highest.
One of the highest youth population in the whole of London.
Population.
So therefore, our problem is far greater in comparison to some of the other local authorities.
Lewisham is the one of the most one.
Lewisham is the highest, is it?
The highest one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, with second or third, or?
But what we have got in our borough is we have one of if not the lowest income per head, and we've got some of the highest poverty rates. Right. Which means, and what we said earlier, crime is related to poverty. Yes. And what you say, if you have a large amount of young people, if you have a high amount of poverty, if young people don't feel like they have a stake in society, if they don't feel like they can go and get a decent job, if they don't feel that they can go and actually participate in society, they then turn to people who they see on Instagram and on other social media channels living the high life. Look at all my cash, look at my nice car. You see all these cars driving around. A lot of them, they don't buy these cars. They don't buy these cars. They are leased on leases which are some would say less than proper. And you've got these people driving around these fast cars, standing outside our blocks of flats and in our near our homes, smoking drugs,
drinking, playing loud music, ASB, you name it.
Indeed. And this is a symptom of young people not having the opportunities that they need to improve their own lives. If you give someone an opportunity, they will take it and they will make their lives better. But what we don't have is the examples in our community that we need, and we need to make sure that when we identify community.
But do you think we are given the right skills for young people to be able to tap into jobs?
No, Not at all. I mean, we still have woodwork classes,
So
but
there
we don't
again-
have classes in coding.
There again, local authority, the government, the politicians are also to be blamed to a certain
I
extent
think
for
also
not providing those facilities.
we've just got Canary Wharf around the corner.
Yes, of
We've
course.
got the city around the corner.
Yes.
And how many of the Tower Hamlets residents or nearby, residents from nearby,
are able to
how
tap into
much
those jobs,
opportunity do
the
they
opportunities.
have?
Yes, of
Yes.
course. Okay, look, it's a very important thing that you've touched. Obviously, you know, every problem has its root causes, and you know, whilst this program is only for hour and 20 minutes, I don't think we can cover everything. But certainly, just now, what I'm going to ask you, in relation to what Adam have just said, do you think that our young people are going through identity crisis, and is there a shortage of role models within our community that these young people perhaps are not being able to follow?
I think if you go back, this is the third and fourth generation of British Bangladeshis here. We're fifth, did you say?
Fourth or fifth, yeah.
Fourth or fifth generation.
Yeah.
If you go back to the 1960s and 70s when the Bangladeshis were coming here, their idea was they'll come here, they'll earn money, go back to Bangladesh.
Yes.
But what's
But
happened?
that hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened because Bangladesh has moved on and
Yes.
they're still here. So they tried to keep hold of their cultural identity. But what's happened, we've had 3-4 generations now, and if you ask a young person, I can actually use my own child as an example. We had a cultural day in our school, and I told my daughter, you're going to dress like a Bangladeshi. I'm not Bangladeshi, I'm British. I said, but you're going to dress like... She goes, no, I'm not Bangladeshi. So
they are going through an identity crisis
for me,
yes, okay.
for myself.
Yeah.
And also,
Do you think this is down to parents not being able to perhaps teach their children their hereditary, if you like,
you know, with the
their own culture,
with the
their
restriction,
own tradition,
no,
and
with the
everything else?
restriction with the education system, you can't go to Bangladesh that often. And when you can go during the holidays,
isn't
the
that
tickets are
also-
doubled.
isn't that,
we can't go to Bangladesh that
Just
often.
like, isn't there also a conflict in terms of their tradition and their culture? Some parents want their children to be, if I may put it, following the Islamic way of life. Yeah. Some people want their children to be a traditional Bangladeshis, the Western Bangladeshis. So there is already a conflict as to which
I don't see
Can
a
I-
conflict
route
here.
that
Can you
people
expand
should
on
follow.
that?
Can I quickly just explain a little bit about it? Having spoken to those youngsters, like, you know, who were born and bred here,
Yeah.
fourth generation or fifth generation, the problem is that when you, as you said, like, when you ask your daughter or your son, like, you know, dressed up as a Bangladeshi, obviously they're saying, no, Bangladesh, no, you know, I'm not from, I'm British. But the problem is when they go to Bangladesh, if you take them for holiday, 6-week holiday or something like that, when you go there, they'll be told, oh, you're not from this country, you're from London, or you're from, so they are actually, where are we from? They say, where are we from? One saying,
So
oh,
they're
you
going
know,
through an identity crisis.
they are, it's a
So
huge,
if they go back to Bangladesh, they are told you are not Bangladeshi,
No.
you're British.
you're British, and obviously here,
And when they're over here,
Yeah.
they are told, mate, you're not British, you're
no,
something else.
I'm not being racist to Hannah Mullen. I'm not being racist to Hannah Mullen. But that is happening actually. Yeah, identity crisis.
Okay,
They
on
are.
on a serious note, sorry, did you want to come in?
No, what you said before about Islamic upbringing and cultural, I don't.
Does that
I
have a
think
conflict?
I don't see the conflict in that
Okay,
really. I
okay.
think a lot of depends.
Because
what
some
part
people are
of
fairly
culture-
strict, aren't they? How they raise their kids in terms of are they praying 5 times a day? You know, are they following
But
true
isn't
Islam?
that with Bengali
True
cultural?
Islam, yeah, and
patterns?
that, and with the Bengali culture,
Yeah.
because some parents are quite liberal-minded, and they would rather have their children go to a disco, you know, whether it's a modern Bengali songs or whatever, and dance to it. Other people would prefer that their children didn't follow that culture.
Okay.
It's like SRE when when the government tried to introduce it, there was an uproar, and a lot of the parents kind of protested, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. But do you see what I'm trying to get at? Do you think that there is a conflict in terms of, you know, children trying to perhaps know what their true identity is?
What I can before the sorry, just now I'm just keep interrupting. Like, living in Shadwell, obviously, just to touch it before you think your answer. Well, I've experienced myself actually, because as you said, like we're 4th or 5th generation. But the problem is some of the kids living in Shadwell, obviously, is loads of Bengali people there. If you go out, like, you know, it's like a proper Bangladesh. Like, you know, you see people, there's markets around and people are walking in the street talking Bengali. But living in Shadwell, born and bred in Shadwell, I experienced so many kids they can't even say a word in Bengali, because what it is, that's again, like, you know, parents are from this country, obviously they're born here, they're speaking constantly English, little bit here and there they can talk. That's again,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think no, it is about identity. Again, we're talking about the identity crisis. But if you don't talk to your kids, trying whatever you know Bengali, try and speak to them, to communicate with the Bengali ways as well. Yes, I know they're going to go to school, they have a mates, they will talk, but at least try and teach them little bit Bengali.
Okay, there was a time when the Bengali children were underperforming at school because they were not speaking English in the at school, in the classroom and in the playgrounds. Because of that, they were underachieving. There was a report that was published by the DFE at the time, which showed that Bangladeshis, Pakistanis and the West Indians were underachieving. To overcome this, we had to have several meetings with the parents, call them over, tell them to talk in English with their children whilst they're at home.
Can I just interrupt you there? That is the problem. I know where you're exactly coming from. That was the problem when the 1st or 2nd generation in this country that I experienced myself.
It is because of that where we are now.
But that's actually changing now, because children that can speak multilingual do better in their education starts.
Yes,
can I just finish the sentence I was finishing? Basically, back in the days, obviously, with due respect, obviously, older generations, 1st generation, 2nd generation.
Back in the days, how old are you?
no, obviously, I speak to a lot of kids, obviously.
Actually, you've made your point. Just one more thing, because we need to go on a short break, and I'm sorry I'm not cutting you short. Do you think within our community there is a shortage of leadership, good leadership, that these young people cannot follow?
There are lots of it is a huge problem, especially when we're talking about the funding cuts and everything like that. It has made loads of effect to the community, and we used to have a youth center, loads of activities to do, but well I'm not attacking any authority. It's the countrywide. It's the Tory government. Obviously, they cut everything.
The austerity that Adam was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It is the kind of same. But the problem, you got to understand this. We are going through a Brexit, and there is a cut. Every sector, it's a cut. You have to understand that. Same again, we need to come out from the solution. Yes, there is a good leadership, shortage of good leadership. They need to come out. But the problem with our community, as soon as someone come out, they want to be the mayor. I want to be the MP. That's not happening.
What we're finding is that because we've had a reduction in service delivery, because you have less youth clubs, because you have less intervention in youth services, you have less of an opportunity to actually identify those community leaders that are required to be examples to the rest of the community. Point being that if you have less stewardship of young people, because if you have a youth club, and if you have youth services, you have the ability to identify from within that those that have the ability to be an example to others. And it's a disaster, and it is a horrid thing that we're going through at the moment. It's 8 years of, technically actually more like 10 years, because the budget cuts didn't just start with the Tory government, it started with the Labour government in 2008. When there was the financial crisis, the reductions in council budgets started under a Labour government and just continued through the coalition, is now getting even worse under a pure Tory government.
Okay. You've said it several times that crime in general is related to poverty.
Indeed.
Yes. Justna said Canary Wharf, the City of London, is only a stone throw away from where we are.
Indeed.
Why aren't these people opening their employment doors for our young people so that they could tap into those jobs and make their lifestyle a lot better and be more responsible
I was going to touch
people in the community.
It's actually worse than that, in my opinion. You know, because they are opening the doors, but the jobs are cleaners, the jobs are maintenance staff, the jobs are the low paid,
all frontline
low
staff.
skills.
Yes,
you know, they are frontline delivery staff rather than the graduate programs, rather than the schemes which people from, you know, a higher income background get access to. People from a more, you know, middle to aspiring
Adam, we need to go on another break. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere. This is our final break. We should be back fairly soon, so please stay with us. Thank you.